Hey guys, Joe here. Doing a video today on the 2016 Chevy Traverse LT. This one is the middle of the road vehicle in the Traverse lineup. Now I keep trying to call it a Terrain because obviously GMC makes the Terrain, but that's actually the equal to the Equinox. I don't mean to keep using alliteration in that way, but it just keeps happening. You'll have to forgive me, other people are doing things within eye range of me and it's throwing me off. The one I chose today has cloth interior and not a ton of bells and whistles because it's the one most likely to be purchased by most buyers. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do the walk around of the vehicle and I will show you some of the features on it. However, please note that this is a 2016. The 2017, which is coming out later this year, will be a completely different vehicle. It's going to have completely different styling based on the same basic platform, but it will be a much different vehicle. It will be a much improved vehicle, and it will be one that is more state of now versus state of 6 years ago when it was designed. So let's take a look around it and see what we think. So starting out here, as you can see, this one is a silver metallic. It's, like I said, the most common color that you're going to find in these, and as you can also see, this has the fewest updated features of any of the current lineup for Chevy, but I will point out what I like on it and then we will take it from there. As you can see from looking at it, it kind of has a little bit of the old Impala and earlier Malibu kind of look to it. It's a stronger look, yet it's not as designed, if that makes sense. The new ones are obviously much more sculpted and whatnot. This is a little bit more traditional, more what Chevy used to always do with their cars. So let's walk up on it. Headlights, as you can see, are not HID, nor are they projector beams on this one. It does have fog lights and then the repeater lenses down there. It has the 20-inch painted aluminum wheels, and this one is rolling on the BF Goodrich tires, the Dueler HLs. Walking along the side, again, this is very much what Chevrolet used to do in terms of their styling. Small creases, nothing too flowing or over sculpted to override the look of the vehicle. Coming to the back of the vehicle, very typical big ass bow tie, a little bit of chrome, and the look of it, and you don't even see an exhaust tip on here. That's how old this design is. The reason I say it's old is because most vehicles nowadays have at least one exhaust tip, and most SUVs have two. Even when they're 4-cylinder, it's just a new design element. I will miss this line. It's kind of the nicest line in my opinion, the way it kind of dips down. It keeps the liftgate from being plain and old. The one biggest complaint I've always had with this vehicle is this view. That rear cutout for that rear window just seems completely out of place on this vehicle. I think it would have been fine had they actually just brought it all the way back and up, but maybe they didn't want it to look too much like the GMC version, even though it looks nothing like it. I don't know. I have nothing to say about that other than what I just said. So anyways, hidden beneath all that plastic is the 3.6 liter direct injected V6, which makes this much horsepower, that much torque. As you can see, it is packed quite tightly in there, but hopefully you will never have to get in there other than routine maintenance, and you can get the oil fill right there, as well as the oil check tube, which is right there. Although I wouldn't do it when it's hot because you could potentially burn yourself. Fairly standard controls here for the windows and the door locks, as well as for the headlights, dome lights, and this one does have ambient lighting in it, which I didn't even check out because it's way too light out to do that. Okay guys, as we're panning through here, you can see that this vehicle is pretty wide open, which I really do appreciate in a vehicle. Lots of room. You can see how much room I have between me and the console and me and the pedals. And as I was saying before, this is the final run of the previous generation car. So as we pan out here, you can see that it does have the previous version's steering wheel. This is the one that was basically on the Impalas and all the vehicles from the previous generation, with all the controls right here. The Malibus all had them like that. So it will be completely different when the 17 comes out, and I will be happy to show that to you when it does come out. Starting here in the center stack, this is the last generation version of MyLink. Now this one does not have navigation, but it does have everything else. It has Bluetooth, it has Pandora, it's got all that stuff. I'm going to make sure it's turned down here so that you don't see that. But as you can see, you got all your different sources, and the touchscreen is fair. Moving down here, you have your rotary controls for the temperature control. It's kind of a redundant statement, but it is what it is. You have heated seats, even though they're cloth, which is nice. I remember back in the day, Volkswagen and Subaru were the first two companies I really saw that were offering heated cloth seats on a bunch of different models. Because it's an older version, you only have one USB port in the front as well as one power port. And then as you can see, you have your standard center armrest here with not a whole lot of room for little doodads. And then you grab it here, slide it back, and you have your change holder and one more power port. However, like I said, it does not have another USB or an aux jack other than that one. So if you change a radio, you have to make sure you get a different radio that has the aux jack. Standard mini storage slot up front for, you know, for getting all your stuff in. Not an ugly pattern at all for the seats here. I like them. They're not too unsupportive. I don't mind them at all. And as you can see, this one is the technically 7-passenger, but I would always hold off on putting 7 people in a vehicle like this. Let me jump into the back seat and we'll take a look at it. Here we are in the back seat. The front seats technically could go forward more. As you can see, I'm a little squished in here, but they're not terrible. I could move it forward enough to get comfortable in here. It's not much worse than in the Tahoe. Rear controls for the heat and AC back here, as well as a power port down there. Hopefully that's coming across. I am not even going to try to get into that back seat because it is quite horribly cramped. Now, a word on this vehicle, it is $36,000, which actually puts it on the exact same level as the Explorer XLT, which is its most direct competitor. But it does have a few advantages over that vehicle. Number one, some of the features that are on this vehicle that brought the price up to $36,000 would push an XLT closer to $40,000, so it is quite a bit less expensive. So now let's check out the room behind the third row. It's funny because outside of this curve here that goes up into the body, if it wasn't for that, this would have more room behind the third row than a Tahoe does. So the window sticker is firmly affixed back there, but it only has a couple $1,000s worth of options on it, and that puts it at about $36,000. Like I said, puts it right into Explorer XLT territory, which in my opinion is the most direct competitor. Even the Durango isn't a competitor because the Durango, yes, it is technically a unibody now, but it's still rear-wheel drive unless you get four-wheel drive. This is an LT trim that I'm driving, and I wanted to drive this one because it's middle of the range. It's what most people will buy. However, a lot of people usually option out for the leather. This one does not have the leather. Okay, so we're gonna do the test drive now, and I am using my new mount for the first time, so please bear with me if it gets a little shaky. I have it balanced as well as I can so that it's actually braced against the dashboard of the vehicle, which hopefully will reduce the shaking. First impressions is it's actually bigger inside than I thought it was going to be in terms of driver room. Because this vehicle is built on the last version of the vehicle that they're going to make before the full redesign, I was worried that it might be a little cramped or it might be a little bit, well, old inside, but it's actually pleasantly not that case. Fair acceleration, motor's decent, transmission is pretty solid. While it's by no means a light vehicle, it actually rides a little bit lighter than it feels, if that makes any sense to you guys. Sometimes you get in a vehicle, you're like, oh wow, this thing's just going to be a lumbering beast and it's going to be hard to steer and hard to stop, but it's actually, it drives lighter than it feels. So I'm pleasantly surprised with that. Wind noise isn't too bad. The redesign is actually going to change up the glass a little bit and put thicker glass in it that's going to be a little bit quieter. And of course it's going to have all new materials inside because hard plastic still, and you know, that's pretty much unacceptable in a new vehicle, but on a previous generation it's okay. I like the seating position in here. It's high enough to where I don't really need to do any more height adjustment to the seat, at least for myself. Again, users are different, so you may need it at a different height than me. but I can see to the edge of the hood. It doesn't just drop off precipitously after the end of the hood. The sight lines with the mirrors is pretty good, and the mirrors are a nice size, so you get a good field of vision. Some vehicles overcompensate for bad spots by having oversized mirrors, or in the case of my Mustang, smartly they put the blind spot mirrors in the upper edge corner of the mirrors, which is a welcome addition when you have problems with blind spots. The ride is quite good. For being on the same platform as the Impala, it definitely shows. It rides very comfortably. I believe it actually drives a little bit more comfortably than the Acadia counterpart. So, took that off-ramp, you know, a little bit faster than posted like I tend to when I'm test driving these things. And it seems to be doing pretty good. It's not wanting to like roll back over onto itself. I will say the transmission is a little slow to downshift though, because I pushed it about halfway there and I barely got one gear. You really want more than that, especially when you're doing a tight clover leaf like these and you're merging on with a bunch of other vehicles. You want to be able to get up to speed quicker than that. So hopefully that's just the old programming for that transmission and it's not a defect in this particular car. There we go. That kicked down a little bit better, but I had to push it over 3/4 of the way down, which I don't like to do. The question is, which version do you want to buy? Because the new 2017 version of this vehicle is coming out, which means that it will be a lot more advanced than its most direct competitor, which is of course the current Ford Explorer. This is a direct competitor for the XLT trim, and when this one's pretty much loaded out, then it could possibly be a competitor for the limited trim. However, I would not put this in the same class as the Sport or the Titanium because of the twin turbo V6 that's available that way. It's not available in this vehicle. Headroom's nice. A lot of extra headroom. It's because there's no sunroof in this one. A lot of times when it doesn't have the sunroof, you get a lot better headroom because there's no motors or cutouts where there's extra bracing in the roof. So we're just about to pull in, and I would like to thank Britt Chevrolet, of course, for letting me use the vehicle. So please, if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you hated the video, give me a thumbs down, but please give me a reason why you're giving me a thumbs down. I like constructive criticism. Just hating a video just because you want to hate it because nobody else has is kind of a a-hole move. Don't be an a-hole. And until we talk again, see you later. Look at you shake. You shaky bastard. I can tell that's gonna suck. Just because it's a windshield mount doesn't mean it can't be used on the wrong side of the car.
This vehicle is in demonstration mode, connected by OnStar's high-speed 4G connection. Press the blue OnStar button to learn more.
Quiet, woman, I'm talking!